Hi guys. So today's video is going to be another bit of a ranty video. A little bit ago I made a bookish pet peeves video where I talked about just things about books in general that are teens a bit annoying to me. And today's video is going to be me ranting about some of the things I see in book reviews. I by no means am the most perfect book reviewer in the world. It's not like I have this absolutely perfect means of how I go about reviewing a book and my grading scale and everything like that. However, I think there are some things that a lot of us will agree are absolutely ridiculous to see in book reviews or kind of drive us up a wall, especially if people are giving a book an extremely low rating and then have the audacity to do some of these things. I actually have a list of a bunch of things that annoy me in book reviews, and the list is so long that I'm gonna have to break this video up into multiple parts. But today I'm gonna talk about 5 of the things that I absolutely cannot stand seeing in book reviews. So a video series that I like to do about once a month on my channel are these funny 1-star review videos, which is where I take popular books and series and I find a bunch of people that do not like them and leave really negative 1-star reviews for them, and then I read the ones that I think are hilarious to you guys. And while some of the 1-star reviews bring up very legitimate points, I would say the majority of them bring up absolutely ridiculous points. And the number one thing that I think I see, the number one phrase that I see in a lot of 1-star reviews is the writing sucks, the writing's atrocious, the writing is garbage. I see some version of that, but they don't provide any examples to prove that the writing is bad, or they provide an example that doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the writing. I do think every now and then a book will get published where the writing itself, the craft of writing, isn't very good. I would say for the most part that's kind of rare, given that the publishing company, it's not just the author, there's a whole team of people that are trying to produce this quality product to you, and they've got editors who are going to look through it. They've got a whole process to make sure that the actual mechanics of the writing are solid. And then when you go up and you say, this writing sucks, and the reason it sucks is because I just didn't like this character, that has nothing to do with the writing. The writing has to deal with the fact that the author forms sentences that are clear and concise, and that they vary sentence structure so it doesn't get repetitive. That's the kind of stuff that has to do with writing, not how much you liked the book. That has nothing to do with the writing. If you don't like the world building, if you don't like the characters, if you don't like the point of view, first person or third person kind of thing, if you don't like those things, that literally has nothing to do with the writing. It drives me insane. Okay, the next thing, I'm gonna calm down for a second. The next thing that drives me crazy that I see all the time is when people will trash a book or talk bad about a book because it's not a different book. I can't tell you how many times that I have gone to do my funny 1-star reviews, and I'm usually doing it for a fantasy book, and I will see people say, it's not Name of the Wind. And I'm like, yeah, obviously, it's a different book. Just in a fairly recent funny 1-star reviews video, I was a funny 1-star review for An Ember in the Ashes, and this person was upset because there is no Gandalf or Aslan type character. And it's like, well, this isn't Lord of the Rings or Chronicles of Narnia, so like, know that you're not reading the same book as a different book. They are different books. If they were all the same, nobody would ever get any variety, and the book would get bashed for being too similar to something else. I don't think it's a bad thing if you're presenting, oh, this book, everybody says it's like Game of Thrones, but I didn't think it was like Game of Thrones at all. I think that's fine if you're acknowledging society has a tendency to think that that book is going to be like something else. That's different than just flat out saying, hey, this other completely unrelated book that happens to more than likely be in the same genre, this book wasn't that book. This next little pet peeve of mine is one that I think a lot of people end up being guilty of, and it's actually the one that I feel like I can most understand, but I really don't like when people rate a book 1 star because it just wasn't for them. If you purely rate on enjoyment, some people do that, and that's completely fine. That is, everybody's got a different grading scale, everybody's got a different means of rating a book, and some people are casual readers, and so they really do base their ratings off of what they got out of it, how much they ended up liking it. And so if you really didn't like a book, giving it a 1 star, and that makes sense. I just think maybe if you're going to say that in a 1-star review, if you're gonna rate it 1 star and just be like, I hated it, or I just didn't like this book or something, maybe at least let people know that you base your ratings off of enjoyment, or that enjoyment plays a big factor. Like I said, that last one, other people aren't going to agree with that. That's totally fine. This next one though, I just don't get it. I don't get when people give a book a low rating because it has a trope that they already know they don't like, and that trope was pretty obvious in the synopsis. An example would be the chosen one trope. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't like it. And if in the synopsis of the book it's like, Bob found out he might be the only person with the power to defeat the greatest evil, and you read that and you're like, I hate that trope, but I'm gonna read this whole book and I'm gonna rate it 1 star because it has that trope that I already knew I didn't like. In your review, I think it's fair to say I was hoping that this would have some kind of original take on the chosen one trope, but I just felt like it was very cliche and we've seen this exact same story before. You know, that's one thing. You also probably want to acknowledge like other elements of the book too, and maybe not just that one trope. But regardless, I think that there are some people that are not that clear-headed. They're just like, chosen one? Gosh, I hate when that comes up in books. 1 star. And the last pet peeve that I'll mention today would be when people, they bash a book and say it lacks originality for the tiniest of similarities to another book. The best example I can give is when I did my funny 1-star reviews research for the Way of Kings series. There is a character who at one time was known as the Blackthorn, and every now and then they refer to that character as that. And somebody had the nerve to say that Sanderson was completely ripping off Game of Thrones because there's a character that's, I think what, the Blackfish or something? Like the word black was in that title. That's the only thing. How can you possibly say that this book is ripping off Game of Thrones because of Blackthorn and Blackfish? Anyway, that's it for my part 1 list of book review pet peeves. Like I said, I've got a lot more book review pet peeves, but feel free, regardless whether I mentioned any of your book review pet peeves in today's video or not, feel free to let me know what some of your book review pet peeves are, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who gets really annoyed at some people's reviews. Thanks so much for watching though. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.